Zipper rolls out to the right, pitches off to Taylor, and Taylor's to the 20, down to the 15, down to the 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Billy Taylor scored a touchdown from 21 yards out. The crowd goes berserk. It was November 22nd, 1969. That they came to Barry, Michigan, all dressed in maize and blue. The words were said, the prayers were read, and everybody cried. But when they closed the coffin, there was someone else inside. Oh, they came to Barry, Michigan, but Michigan wasn't dead. And when the game was over, it was someone else instead. 11 Michigan Wolverines put on the gloves of gray, and as the organ played the victors, they laid Woody Hayes away. Under center is Wangler at the 45. He goes back. He's looking for a receiver. He throws downfield to Carter. Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Welcome to the Michigan Man Podcast on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue, and welcome to our Colorado State Visitors edition of the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Finally, it's game week. I'm ready, and I know you are too. For the better part of 10 years, we've been bringing you 2 shows a week during the season. On our Visitors edition, we feature a writer or radio personality for that week's opposition. Then on the Michigan Game Day show, we feature one of our writers or media personalities. Today we begin preparation for Saturday's big opener, and we'll be joined by the radio play-by-play voice of Colorado State football, Brian Roth. Before we hear from Brian, a few news and notes. By now, you know what the plans are at quarterback, at least for the first 2 weeks. This Saturday, Cade will be under center against the Rams. Then next week, JJ gets the call against Hawaii under the lights. Then Jim will choose who's number 1. We think anyway. It will be interesting to see how the competition ends up, though. Jim appeared with John Jansen on the Athletic Department's In the Trenches podcast on Saturday, and he made that announcement. He also said this camp has been outstanding, and the health of the team couldn't be better. That's as close to an injury report as you will ever get from Jim Harbaugh. He also reviewed the 2-deep chart, which he has never done before. Jim appeared really relaxed and sounds very sure he has a very good football team that is capable of repeating or improving on last year's season. We all hope that's the case. Our opponent this week is from the Mountain West. Colorado State has a new head coach in Jay Norvell. He has spent many years coaching in the NFL, then returned to college ball 5 years ago in his first head coaching position at Nevada. He did a really impressive job with that program in a short period of time. Now he brings his air raid offense to the Big House to open the season, and a lot of new faces will be with him. Up next with a Colorado State perspective on this week's big opener is the radio play-by-play voice of the Rams, Brian Roth. So stay with us. Here with us on our Visitors edition of the show this week as we get ready to start the season is the radio play-by-play voice of Colorado State football, Brian Roth. Brian, it's great to have you with us.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for having me on, man. College football season is here. I know we're all excited about that.
Well, it is great to have it back. And, of course, this is the first week for both Michigan and Colorado State to get into action And as you said, we're all excited about that. In Fort Collins, there's a new head man, Jay Norvell, comes from Nevada to take over the reins, and he brings with him a very high-octane offense, doesn't he, Brian?
Well, he does, yeah. And so, Jay Norvell's a guy who's been around the block a number of times, coached at, a lot of Power 5 schools, spent 6 years in the NFL, and finally got a head job 6 years ago at the University of Nevada, a place that, has had mixed results and not a lot of great facilities, but brought his air raid offense to Reno, and over the last 5 years has turned that football program around. They've gone to 4 straight bowl games. They've produced some NFL talent out of there as well. And so he comes over to Colorado State where, I think a lot of people are excited about the future. I mean, if you can win at Nevada with the facilities they have, and then you look at Colorado State and compare CSU's facilities with the rest of their brethren in the Mountain West Conference, I mean, it's night and day the amount of resources and facilities that Colorado State has compared to Nevada. So Ram fans are excited about it and believe they have the guy in place, the right guy to turn this football program around and again compete for conference championships in the Mountain West, which is the goal of a program like Colorado State.
Well, at Nevada, Coach Norvella's offense threw the ball about 60% of the time on average. So having the right guy under center and the right guys at the skill positions is key. Tell us about starting quarterback. He's a redshirt freshman, Clay Millen, and the skill set he brings to this Ram offense.
Yeah, so Clay Millen's a kid who's a 4-star quarterback out of the Seattle area, and early in his high school career looked like he was going to go to Oregon. Then was committed to go to Arizona, coaching change, and once there was a coaching change at Arizona, he kind of decommitted, and that's when Jay Norvell in Nevada kind of swooped in on him and really picked him up as one of the most highly rated recruits that Nevada had ever gotten. So he sat last year behind a quarterback named Carson Strong, who was the Mountain West Conference Offensive Player of the Year, and learned that offense. And then, Jay Norvell gets the Colorado State job. And, as Clay said, he goes, there's no question I was following Coach over to Fort Collins in Colorado State because he went to Nevada, not because of the beautiful city that is Reno. He went to Nevada because of the air raid offense. So, he comes to Colorado State. He was the unquestioned starter in spring ball, and that has continued here into the fall. He's 6'3", 215 pounds, has great, pedigree with his dad, Hugh Millen, a former NFL quarterback, was an All-American at the University of Washington. In fact, backed up John Elway here in Colorado at Denver for a couple of years. So, Ram fans still remember his dad from his Bronco days, and now here's the son coming in, and he's a redshirt freshman. He's thrown 2 collegiate passes, and so this will be his first action coming up on Saturday in Ann Arbor at the Big House. And what a way to make your debut. He's going to have ups and downs this year, but I know Ram fans really are excited to have him, especially the fact that he's just a redshirt freshman. And you should be able to get him for 3 years, maybe even 4.
Yeah, and as you said, he's only thrown a couple of passes at the collegiate level. The only tape I saw on him was during his recruiting days, recruiting tape. And, of course, he looks like a perfect fit for this air raid type of an offense. But he also, at least in his recruiting tapes, looked like he had some pretty good wheels on him.
Yeah, he's a good athlete. There's no question about that. Now, CSU's not going to ask him to be a dual-threat quarterback. That's just not what they ask of their quarterbacks. But, he is certainly a very good athlete. And I'm really looking forward to watching him play. He's a kid who got limited to just 2 games his senior season because of COVID. And so he really has not played a lot of football in the last couple of years. Again, redshirting last year as a true freshman at Nevada. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be geared up and ready to go at the Big House. But again, what kind of results will that bring? Well, we will see. But he's a kid that definitely has a lot of those tangible aspects that you like in a college football quarterback.
Well, the good thing for Clay is that he is familiar with a couple of his receivers, Tony Horton, and I'm not sure in the pronunciation here, but Melquan Stovall.
That's right.
Well, they both came over from Nevada with him, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And Torrey Horton's a kid who the staff feels like is an NFL caliber receiver, and played as a true freshman 2 years ago, played last year as a true sophomore at Nevada, and really was starting to flourish in that offense. And you see that Colorado State has like 11 players from Nevada, and obviously with the transfer rules these days haven't been laxed a little bit, where you can transfer once without any penalty and having to sit out a year. Jay Norvell comes from Nevada to Colorado State in the same conference, and all of a sudden 11 players are going with him. Now Jay left it up to any player that wanted to come to Colorado State, he would welcome them. But, guys like Torrey Horton and Melquan Stovall, wide receivers that were recruited to Nevada to play in that air raid offense, a lot like Clay Millen, where the head coach goes, the offense goes, well, they're going to go with him. And so that certainly is a big factor for Colorado State, the fact that they have two of their starting wide receivers, because Horton's going to be the number one wide receiver. Stovall will start at the slot position for Colorado State. To have those two guys that have multiple years in the air raid offense, and Clay Millen, the quarterback, has, again, a full year in the air raid offense as well, even though he didn't play. That's key. That's key, because then you can teach the rest of the offense. And the two offensive linemen, by the way, that are going to start on Saturday also came from Nevada. So you got some dudes on the offense that have been in this air raid system, and I think it's helped integrate some of the holdovers from the Colorado State roster.
Well, when you throw the ball like this offense is going to do, you usually need a lot of capable receivers. We talked about two of them, but tell us about some of the other wideouts we're going to see Saturday who are expected to contribute this year.
Yeah, a kid named Dante Wright is a really good player for Colorado State, number 22. He's not very big. He's another slot guy. But, 2 years ago, he put up 57 catches as a true freshman out of Navarre, Florida, which is the panhandle of Florida there. And he's a guy that has, big time speed. I mean, power 5 speed. The problem is he's only 5'8", but man, he's had a big time career here at Colorado State, and he kind of has a new lease on life. When an air raid offense comes in and you're wondering about the new coach, and you see, oh wait, they're going to throw the football 60% of the time. You're happy about that as a receiver. So number 22, Dante Wright, he's a really, really good player. Not very big, but again, has some elite speed. And then Colorado State also has another holdover in Ty McCullough, a kid who out of high school had multiple Pac-12 offers and just really hadn't put it all together here at Colorado State. He's now into his senior season. I mean, the talent is there. He's got very good speed on the outside. And, you're thinking perhaps this kid, McCullough, could put it all together here in his senior season with a new offense and, again, a pass-happy offense. So 6, that's McCullough. 22 is Dante Wright, two other kids that will be catching the football on Saturday, along with Stovall, 0, and then Torrey Hort, number 14.
Let's talk about the big guys up front for a minute or two, Brian. I was watching some tape with offensive line coach Bill Best, and he was saying that it looks like the starting 5 are there already, 4 of them, though, being transfers. But they do have experience in that group, don't they?
Yeah, 91 career games at the FBS level between the 4 transfers. And I think the starts come in around like 60 or so. So yeah, they felt like they had to go out and upgrade the offensive line through the transfer portal, and that's what they looked at in this football program as a deficiency is the amount of offensive linemen that they feel like they need to win in the Mountain West Conference. And so they went out and got some transfers. Again, I mentioned 2 of them are from the University of Nevada. And so 2 guys that do know that offense. But the starting 5 is set. The one interesting thing to watch on Saturday, we talked about the 4 transfers coming in and 91 career FBS games among those 4. Well, the guy that's going to be playing left tackle, which, of course, we know is a very important position, especially for a team that drops back and passes a lot. He is a redshirt freshman from right here in Fort Collins. I think he has a big time ceiling. He's a big kid, goes 6'5", 310 pounds, but he is a kid who will be playing in his first collegiate game, and he'll be starting at left tackle for Colorado State. So that'll be one of the interesting things I know we're going to keep our eye on Saturday, and really as Colorado State goes through the first few weeks, is how does that redshirt freshman hold up at the left tackle position?
Well, as far as the running backs go, Brian, who are some of the names we can watch for on Saturday?
Yeah, Rams will play 3 running backs on Saturday, I would assume. Ajon Vivens is a kid who's been around a long time, a Denver kid who started out as a wide receiver and moved to running back 2 years ago. He wears number 1. Vivens is a kid who's really good in open space, very quick in short spaces as well. So Vivens is going to play. Transfer from Nevada, and it's a common theme. Avery Morrow comes over with his coaching staff, one of those 11 transfers from the University of Nevada, and a guy who has some experience at the FBS level. And then the leading returning rusher last year for Colorado State is a guy named David Bailey, who spent his first 3 years at Boston College and ran for 750 or so yards last year. Bailey gives him a bigger dimension. He goes 6 foot, 245 pounds, and in fact, he's down from about 245 from a season ago. So he's one of those big kind of power backs. So those will be the three running backs you'll see for the Rams coming up on Saturday.
Well, I was watching some of the training camp video, and they all look like, scat backs, very mobile, very fast. And in this offense, I'm sure they have to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield too, don't they?
Yeah, no question. I mean, you look at this air raid offense and you say, okay, well, they're going to throw the football, let's say 60% of the time, right? But they use that passing game as a run game too, right? Whether it be, little bubble screens to the wide receivers, little hitch routes, or throwing the football to the running backs out of the backfield. So you got to be able to catch the football as a running back in this offense. And again, there are certain plays in this offense where, they're throwing the ball, but in all reality, it's a run play that's just disguised as a pass play.
Well, over on the other side of the ball, Freddie Banks is the new DC, and from listening to him, he seems to really like his defensive line and the depth. I think he said we can roll in 11 guys if we have to.
That's really good news for Colorado State. And any time, at this level, you get to that group of five level, if you can really feel comfortable with that many guys that you can roll in and out, you should be in pretty good shape, especially once you get into conference play. And so the defensive line has been kind of the surprise standout group here this fall. And I think we thought it would be a decent defensive line. They lost 3 really good defensive linemen last year. And you come back and you're like, who's going to step up? And they've had some young kids step up. They have a transfer from Rutgers. Of course, a kid from the Big Ten, and C.J. Onyechi, who'll wear number 2. He's going to be a rush edge. And NFL caliber rush heads on the other side, and Mo Kamara, who wears number 42. In fact, there were some scouts out at the last scrimmage and talked to a couple of them, and I asked them who they're looking at, and at the top of the list was 42 Mo Kamara. So a kid that has a chance to play in the NFL, he'll be coming off the other edge along with the Rutgers transfer Onyechi.
Well, the defense does overall have to replace quite a bit of talent, but the linebacking core returns really solid contributors in Cameron Carter and Daquan Jackson. Talk about them, Brian, and what type of players they are.
Well, it's a 4-2-5 defense, so the Rams will have 2 linebackers on the field, at all times. But you talk about 2 kids that have been in the mix for many, many years. Those 2 guys have. I mean, Cam Carter and Daquan Jackson have played a ton of big time college football. So, those guys are sure tacklers. I wouldn't call them necessarily sideline to sideline type linebackers. I know the coaching staff says as they get going in this 4-2-5 defense, they'd like a little more speed at the linebacker spot since they aren't a traditional 4-3 defense. But, you got 2 guys like Carter and Daquan Jackson and maybe lack just a little bit of the speed that this coaching staff wants at the position. You can't replace the grit and the toughness and the game day experience. I mean, those guys are going to walk into Michigan Stadium coming up on Saturday, and they will not be phased at all. Now, doesn't mean that CSU is going to shut down Michigan. We don't expect that, but just those 2 kids. I mean, you do not have to worry about those 2 guys if you're a Colorado State fan.
Well, back in the secondary, Nevada safety transfer Angel King, and then you have City College of San Francisco's DeAndre Greeley. They're big additions, and they joined 5th-year senior Taiwan Francis. Talk about that secondary group, Brian.
Yep, and they brought in the transfer from Cal of the Pac-12, and Chigi Anusium, who will be wearing number 7. He's going to be the number 1 DB, and then Francis is a kid that played safety last year. They moved him to nickel again, that 4-2-5. Defense. You're just basically throwing in a nickel back as your 5th defensive back. And what they want out of the nickel back is somebody that can cover, which Francis has played DB and safety, but somebody that can also help against the run, right? And Francis had over 80 tackles last year at the safety spot. They move him to nickel this year, and they feel like he can be a run stopper up near the line of scrimmage. They can use him on blitzing, and then also he's good enough to where he can cover a slot wide receiver, or he could take a tight end off the line of scrimmage. So, the secondary, we'll see. The secondary wasn't great last year for Colorado State. They had a dearth of bodies last year due to injuries and some COVID-related roster stuff. Well, here this fall, there's a lot more bodies. They upgraded with Greeley, who was a junior college All-American, to come in. The Cal transfer Anusium comes in. You get Angel King from Nevada, who was a starter for the Wolfpack last year. So So you have a lot more bodies, and you have a little bit more talent on the back end, which is good news because Colorado State did have some struggles on the back end of the defense last year.
Well, you were mentioning they're going to be running a 4-2-5 defense, which is something we see a lot around college football now because of the air raid offenses, the wide open spread offenses. Do you think there's some concern there when they're facing a Michigan offense that really Jim Harbaugh likes to run maybe 60% of the time, and if he can run, he might run 70 or 80% of the time. So that's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I talked to Freddie Banks, our new defensive coordinator, and again, a real bright, young, up-and-coming coach. He was the defensive coordinator last year at Montana State and led the Bobcats to a national championship game against North Dakota State, and they had one of the best defenses at the FCS level last year, and said, look, I mean, it's basically a 4-3 defense. It's just a matter of we're throwing in a nickel instead of a third linebacker. He said that doesn't mean that we can't throw in a third linebacker if we need to. And so, I just said with the evolution of the college game and just about all offenses are going to the spread formation, you don't see a lot of people work out of 12 personnel anymore, although Colorado State last coaching staff, they went out 12 personnel, I'd say 60% of the time last year. But, he just said that the defense can adjust to that. We call it a 4-2-5. That doesn't mean that we won't be out there with three linebackers at times as well.
Well, I've been watching some of the preseason stuff online, and it seems like Coach Norvell has put together a really nice staff. I was especially impressed by offensive line coach Bill Best and secondary coach Marcus Patton. Looks to be a really solid group, Brian.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that I think a lot of people overlook about Group of 5 teams, and their ability to compete for conference championships at their own level within their own conference, but their ability to compete with Power 5 teams, and you don't always have that consistency at the assistant coach level, and the real bright up and coming coaches are always getting plucked away, right? And so to have a good assistant coaching staff is key for every college program, but certainly for the Group of 5 level. And what Jay Norvell has done, he's gone really young with this coaching staff. Now Bill Best is in his mid 40s. He's kind of the middle of the pack there, but you get a lot of guys, a couple in their 20s on the coaching staff. Defensive coordinator Freddie Banks is 31. And then you have a couple others that are in their early 30s, guys that are rising up through the ranks here. And I know Colorado State has put resources towards that as well. When Jay Norvell came over, he almost got $1 million pay raise for what he was making at Nevada. And again, it goes back to talking about resources that Colorado State does have. They're at the very top of the Mountain West Conference. And so you look at that and say they should be competing for conference championships with the facilities and the resources. But not only did Jay Norvell get a big raise to come to Colorado State as head coach, but the assistant coaching salary pool much bigger than Nevada and a lot of other places in the Mountain West Conference, and that's a big deal. I mean, you're talking about 85 scholarship players. You're talking about a lot of moving parts. You need to have guys on your staff that are good, that are competent, that are sharp, and guys that you trust.
Well, last year, Brian, the Rams were 3-9, so there's nowhere to go but up. Do you think this team has the personnel in the first year? And I know this is a tough question, but the personnel to improve on last year's record?
Yeah, I mean, I do. And I think the prevailing thought amongst Ram fans is there's no reason CSU shouldn't be a 7, 8, 9 win team each and every single year. Now, it doesn't mean that they should be going into win at Michigan or almost won at Iowa last year, played Florida a few years ago. We went to Alabama twice. And, we're not supposed to be winning those games. But this is a Colorado State program that should go to Washington State, we feel, and compete with Washington State and have a chance to beat the Cougars in 3 weeks and go out and win 7 games in your own conference. So I think when you see what Jay Norvell did at Nevada with very limited resources, bottom of the barrel facilities in the Mountain West Conference, and the fact that he did what he did there, there's no reason to think that Jay Norvell can't do a lot bigger and better things here at Colorado State with better resources and facilities. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of optimism here. And, what's that going to look like in the first year for Colorado State? We'll see. But I think Ram fans feel like they should be competing for a conference championship maybe even next year, certainly in year 3 with this new staff.
Well, this is only the second time these two teams have met, Brian, on the gridiron. I think, and you do the basketball play-by-play also. So I think last year we met in the NCAA tournament, didn't we?
Yes, that was yes. It was a disappointing game for Colorado State. We got into some foul trouble with some key guys, and man, it just kind of took the wind out of our sails in the final 7 minutes of the contest. And when you're arguably best player, your point guard, is on the bench with 4 fouls, it's hard to win because CSU just certainly didn't have the depth that Michigan had. But it was fun to meet all the Michigan folks there, and tell you what, we're looking forward to getting out to Ann Arbor here this weekend.
As we said, it's only the second time these two teams have met on the football field. It was the 1994 Holiday Bowl, and that was a 24-10 win for Michigan. Would you say, as you take the temperature around Fort Collins this week, that the Ram fan base is excited about coming to Ann Arbor?
Oh, no question. Look, it's the big house, right? It's 107,000 fans. To be able to experience that is it's unique. And we went to Iowa last year. We thought Iowa was great. I loved the Iowa fans. Of course, the Iowa wave that they do at the end of the first quarter, that was certainly special. We went to the Swamp a few years ago. Ram fans made the trek down there. Like I said, with Alabama a couple times in 13 and 17. So Ram fans are stoked to get out to the big house and to get out to Ann Arbor. And we're happy to do it in September. We don't want to go out there in November. We like the sun too much. No, I'm joking. But Ram fans are certainly excited. However the score turns out, I think Ram fans are gonna have a good time and enjoy themselves coming up this weekend.
Well, final question before we let you get away, Brian. First games are always tough to gauge. No matter how good you are or how good you think you are, you never know what to expect. How do you think this Colorado State team matches up with Michigan, and what do they need to do to have success on both sides of the ball?
Well, I'll say this. I don't think Colorado State can be intimidated. Again, this is a football team, and we weren't very good last year. Leading by 7 with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter at Iowa, who was undefeated and ranked 5th in the nation last year, and it took a fluke fumble at our own goal line to all of a sudden tie the game up, and Iowa got life, and they kind of got up off the mat. There was a lot of worried Hawkeye fans there last year. And now Michigan's much better than that Iowa team that we saw last year. We know that based on the Big Ten championship last year. So, but it's hard to tell, Mike. I don't know. I could see this. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the answer you want. With the new coaching staff and all the new players on our team, obviously there are a lot of new defenders for Michigan, but that offense is really, really good. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I just know that we want to go out there and at least be respectable and give Michigan a pretty darn good game.
Yeah, you're right. You never know what to expect in those first couple of games of the season. And as a longtime Michigan observer and fan, all I have to do is hearken back to the Appalachian State game of a decade or more ago, and that's what could happen if you're not ready to go.
Yeah. There's no question. You look at last year. We played a season opener against South Dakota State, who was one of the top 5 teams in FCS, and we lost at home. And we thought we were going to roll that game. We rolled to Iowa last year thinking we were going to get blown out. And really probably should have won that game. So who knows? September's always hard to kind of get a gauge on. I think once you get into October and certainly November, you have a much better idea of what to expect than any given Saturday.
No, that's absolutely right. The good thing is college football is back. A big opener in the big house on Saturday against Colorado State. With us today has been the radio play-by-play voice of Colorado State football and basketball, Brian Roth. Brian, thanks for being so generous with your time, and we've enjoyed having you.
All right. Yeah, appreciate you having me on, Mike. Thank you so much.
On Quick Hits today, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Jim says team health is outstanding for the opener. If there are any injuries, he didn't talk about them. Thanks again to my guest today, Colorado State radio play-by-play voice, Brian Roth. He was a pleasure to speak with, and he's excited as all get out to call a game from the booth in the Big House. On Thursday, I'll be back with our Michigan Game Day show. We'll have any last-minute updates available and share some interesting game day facts. My scheduled guest is our new radio play-by-play voice, Doug Karsh. Not that Doug is new to us. If you're in the Detroit market, you've been listening to him for the better part of 20 years on WXYT 97.1 The Ticket. He has also been the sideline reporter for many years on the Michigan Football Radio Network team. Now, Doug's schedule is a wee bit crazy as he prepares for his first big game up in the booth, so if he can't squeeze some time in this week, we'll have another one of our media guys or gals join the show. If not this week, at some point in the season, we'll have Doug on the show for you. That will do it for our first visitors edition of the season. Make sure you come back again on Thursday. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Have a great Wolverine week, everyone. Until Thursday, take care, and as always, go blue. Thanks for joining us today on The Michigan Man, here on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V-Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. Our listener lines are open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Or email us at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. That's themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan, and is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!